What is up, ladies and gentlemen, and beautiful people of the Crasher community? How are you guys doing today? We're back with another video to, once again, discuss Pokemon Go. This time, we're going to be talking about Shadow Raids, ladies and gentlemen, because those have been a thing recently, and that concept seems really good on paper, but when it comes to the execution, on the other hand, thumbs up, thumbs down, because it is absolutely terrible. And a couple examples of a terrible execution would be, number one, the floor when it comes to the IVs go from 10-10-10 to 6-6-6 when it comes to encountering the raid shadow Pokemon after you beat it in the raid. And also, a really big insult would be the fact that remote raid passes are null and void. The only way you're able to compete in these shadow raids would be in person. So once again, not only is this Niantic's way of trying to ruin remote raiding for everyone, but this right here is also a huge insult to a good variety of players that don't fit the top demographic that Niantic targets, aka able-bodied, live in big cities. There are those that have disabilities, that have struggles. There are those that live in suburban areas. There are those that live in just in the middle of buttfuck nowhere, and they depend on remote raiding in order to have some semblance of enjoyment when it comes to Pokemon Go. And Niantic is doing a fantastic bang-up job of destroying the enjoyment further and further. So now let's take a look at what the community here thinks when it comes to shadow raids, because I'm clearly not the only one that has an opinion about this. I'm sick, so I can't participate in Shadow Mewtwo raids. It's frustrating, and even if I wasn't sick, the area I live in doesn't have many trainers. I hate that Pokemon Go is making these raids in person required. It puts a lot of their player base at a major disadvantage, and that right there is true. There are a lot of players in Pokemon Go that don't benefit from having good, plentiful communities anymore, and a big part of that actually stems from the April 6th update when it came to nerfing remote raid passes. And take it from someone that is a part of actually quite a few community group chats on Facebook when it comes to Pokemon Go, and on Discord as well. Completely dead, or I would say mostly dead. I would get like maybe one or two stray messages here or there, but the community activity, the community morale, the interest, all of it has been at an all-time low, and that right there all goes back to saying that right there is thanks to Niantic. If those changes didn't happen, as well as all of the other events resulting from those changes, so kind of like a domino effect, we probably wouldn't have such a negative outcome and a negative response when it comes to shadow raids. If remote raid passes weren't nerfed, if remote raid passes were actually to be allowed in shadow raids, guaranteed a lot of people would have more interest when it comes to shadow raids. But now let's take a look at some of the replies to this post. We have ourselves at one saying, "We only had time for one raid today, no one showed up. I was bummed for my husband and little one." And that right there is just one out of many other people with the same or similar types of feedback. And I even have people reaching out to me telling me that they tried to do these in-person Shadow Mewtwo raids to no avail because hardly anybody showed up. And there's a response here. Yep, we tried for 4 and either no one showed and we sat around, or the people on Campfire refused to wait 1 extra minute for us to drive around the block. One-way streets. My kiddo was disappointed. Here's another one. I agree. They're making it impossible for people who are disabled to play. The remote raids offered so much more, allowing for a wider player base, i.e. more money in Niantic's pocket. And see, that right there is also another big thing, you know? They made so much money off of remote raiders, and all of a sudden, they just decided, well, you know what? Despite how popular remote raids are, let's go ahead and let's nerf them in the worst way possible. And as a result, well, there you go. There you freaking go. You lost money, and here's the thing as well, is that Niantic is about profits and gains first, and everything else about the community dead last, seemingly. Yeah, unfortunately, disabled people aren't Niantic's target audience. Now, let me just make this abundantly clear, okay? And I've said this time and time and time again, but let me reiterate it for those in the back. I understand where Pokemon Go came from. I understand why it was conceived in the first place. It was meant for you to get out and go. I 100% understand that, and I appreciate that type of vision. But you see, here's the thing, is that from the start, Pokemon Go was not going to be a fair game for everyone. But when COVID-19 ended up taking place and ruining the entire world, Niantic actually made some really freaking solid in-game changes and additions that breathed life into Pokemon Go for a lot of people. And Pokemon Go essentially became a beacon of light and hope in a very, very dark time, and one of those examples would be the introduction of remote raid passes. But now Niantic's trying to do whatever they can to ruin remote raids. Bad updates, excluding remote raids from shadow raids, and without them trying to remove them entirely, they're doing a very good job of destroying remote raiders, period. And let me just say this, okay, is that you took the genie out of the bottle when you introduced remote raids. You opened Pandora's box the second you introduced remote raids. You can't put all that shit back in, homie. It's just simply not going to work out that way. You made the decision. It's a decision that everyone pretty much loved, and you can't exactly go back to the time before you made that change and decided to introduce remote raid passes. I became disabled in 2022. As a day one player, it was great to get out and go, just like me. But now I realize the game is no longer for me, and now I can even relate to rural players. But we weren't the people that Niantic was ever after. This game and the Go aspect isn't meant for us. I get it. So time for me and others to move on to something that can be played from home. And it's unfortunate because it isn't just this individual that has this type of sentiment and this type of feedback, but there are other people that can relate to that. Now, we do have ourselves some positive feedback in regards to this. I know I'll probably get downvoted to infinity for this, but I did 12 in-person raids today and had the most fun I've had playing the game in years. And honestly, hey, freaking kudos to you, my friend. I am glad that you had a really, really good experience, and, you know, that puts a smile on my face because that actually brings me back to around, like, the 2018-2019 days where you would have those raid days featuring legendary Pokemon, and I remember, especially for Suicune Day, we raided the absolute hell out of that Pokemon. Myself and I think it was like 2 or 3 carfuls of individuals that would go from spot to spot, and we would raid those Pokemon. Those right there were freaking stellar ass times. Unfortunately, because of what's been going on, not just with the game itself, not just with Niantic driving away players by the day, but also because of how the world has changed, unfortunately, we can't go back to those times. And it absolutely sucks because those are times that I actually really freaking coveted the most. Being with people, being with fellow community members. But the thing is that the chats I'm a part of, okay, and I'm a part of a fair amount of group chats, whether it's on Facebook or on Discord, there's hardly any activity when it comes to those chats now. The community that is local to me, we hardly ever talk, and it sucks because, you know, we've had great memories, but because of the direction that the game has been taken, unfortunately, the community activity is next to nothing here. It is difficult to do in-person raids too. I have completed about 14, and I am a bit frustrated by the whole thing. I had to drive around the world to get to those 14 raids. No fun at all. Worst part of the whole thing, it took about 10 minutes from the countdown to capture Mewtwo per raid. There were glitches, but mostly Mewtwo was programmed to waste time by swatting, and I couldn't really get a circle lock. Took forever, and see, that right there is also on brand as well. Once again, we deal with glitches when it comes to new releases. Hey, Nothing new, nothing surprising. Not pleased that all the Shadow Mewtwo's had crappy IVs, I refused to level a low IV Shadow Mewtwo. From personal experience, Shadow Pokemons are not always the best Pokemon to use in battle and win, so I want my good IV Shadow Mewtwo. I wish that remote raid passes were available because I would not be driving around as much while getting frustrated by the whole process. Tomorrow I will try to do more Shadow Mewtwo raids, but I'm not happy. Only good thing about this whole situation is that I was able to level one non-Shadow Mewtwo to level 50. I guess now I have to work on the other two non-Shadow Mewtwo I have. Would have preferred to level a good IV Shadow Mewtwo, but no dumb luck as of yet. Sorry about my complaints, it's not easy either for a city dweller to do in-person raids either, so I empathize with you, but the reasons are different. And getting back to the whole IVs thing, I kinda don't understand why Niantic thought that it was a good idea to make the IVs floor 666. I don't know if that right there was like intentional, like it was a play on numbers or something like that, because 666 is a representation of evil and shadow Pokemon and all that stuff. I don't even know. But typically when it comes to raid IVs floors, they would be 10, 10, 10. But the fact that they're 666, that is really, really, really low for my liking. Niantic doesn't care. Please try again later. Insert coins here for more opportunities to play. And to be honest with you, that's kind of how I look at Pokemon Go. It's a more flashy and fanciful way to gamble away your money. Imagine if you had a disability and couldn't leave your house at all and relied on invites. And you see, that right there is just another painful reminder of the types of individuals that you exclude here, Niantic, when you pull off garbage like this. Now, there's a lot more that I could get into, not just from the Reddit post, but on Twitter as well, because I have seen and even liked a lot of posts in response to shadow raids and their displeasure when it comes to the shadow raids. But let me also say this, okay, is that when you have Pokemon Go content creators making videos on these shadow raids, obviously, they are going to be showcasing their successes and stuff like that, and there's nothing wrong with that, you know what I'm saying? Like, more power to you. I'm glad you're having fun. I'm glad that you have a local community still intact to be able to help you with these shadow raids. But don't you dare ignore the fact that there are a lot of people in the shadows, no pun intended, but a lot of people in the shadows that don't get heard out. Just remember that you have luxuries that those people don't. And the thing as well is that with you being content creators and you having a wide audience that watches your content, you should also be advocating for those players that aren't as fortunate as you. Like, there are those non-content creators out there that have tried to organize groups for these shadow raids, but to no avail, whereas content creators, on the other hand, seem to have a bit of an easier time. Now, I'm not here calling anyone out, I'm not slinging dirt at anyone, nor is that ever my intention. Do not ever go out of your way to harass and bully anyone that I happen to be critical of, whether it's directly or indirectly, okay? Do not do that. But I'm just simply putting the facts and the knowledge out there, and also putting into perspective what is actually the deal here. And said deal revolves around, once again, screwing over remote raiders by excluding them entirely from shadow raids, and also when you have a lack of content creators speaking out against something like this, there's going to be some people that are thinking that it's possible that these content creators are complicit with Niantic when it comes to this. Or at the very least, don't care about their fellow Pokemon Go players unless they are within that demographic that is able to play the game without a hitch. But anyways, guys, that is something I just kind of wanted to talk a little bit extra with you guys about. Again, this isn't meant to be a direct or indirect call out, and I'm not trying to sling dirt at anyone. I'm just simply stating what frankly needs to be said. Like, there's really no other way to put it. I'm just simply saying what needs to be said, and I'm one of the few real ones that will do exactly that and say it to you straight and like it is. And with that being said, I also want to once again say thank you to everyone that appreciates these type of videos and takes time to actually listen out to what I have to say and shares these videos around. I'm here for you guys. You can believe that. And frankly, I wouldn't be here if it weren't for y'all. So, you know what? Thank you guys again for giving me the opportunity to be a voice for you guys. So with that said, guys, that's it here for the video. Thank you guys very much for watching. Thank you for your time as well in viewing this video. Have yourself a damn good one, you beautiful people. Be kind to yourself, be kind to others, and I will see you next time. And I think I'm also going to go ahead and enjoy this beautiful 30-degree plus day. Damn, it's a scorcher out there. Woo!